The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
And good morning. It is 5 a.m. on this Tuesday morning. I'm Alex Fisher along with Nicole Gitsky. Maddie has the day off. And did you enjoy it yesterday? The beautiful temperatures?
Yes, I did. And this morning I was going to say I even had to grab a little jacket coming in, compared to last week. I had the AC on.
Yeah, we're not used to it. And it's been an absolutely gorgeous forecast. Of course, we're all wondering how long are we going to be treated to these temperatures? Chief Meteorologist Alyssa Carlson joins us now to look at our forecast. Boy, Alyssa, at one point yesterday, and Nicole, I think you probably noticed this too yesterday as well, it almost looked as though it was going to rain because of the cloud cover.
Yeah.
It did, especially by mid-morning. It really was starting to look like it was going to, and then the clouds broke up and we saw those skies clear. But that was just the system to our south passing through, and it did give us some gusty winds in the afternoon. And now today, sunny skies all around the area. So that has passed. The cool temperatures are sticking around, though, and a live look outside our downtown area right now. Very peaceful and quiet. And yes, as Nicole mentioned, it is cool outside. So we are going to be treated to that. Only 58 degrees right now. What a difference. We just keep going down the thermometer. And today will be noticeably cooler once again. We still have the wind advisory for the mountains and deserts through 9 a.m. We do have just a little bit of windiness out there on the 14 and Highway 58 out in the desert. So winds out of the west 25 to 30. Otherwise, looking today as we will see another cold front to the north pass on through, and that will keep us cool through midweek. These fronts are dry though. No rain expected out of them. And as we take a look at the forecast here for this morning, temperatures are going to continue to be cool. So at 11 a.m., 70 degrees, and then upper 70s this afternoon in the valley. In the mountains, sunny skies, temperatures in the 60s here and close to 70. Much more on this cooling trend in Pinpoint Weather.
All right, Alyssa, thanks so much. We begin this morning with some breaking news. A widespread internet outage has taken out several high-traffic websites, including the New York Times, CNN, Twitch, Reddit, and the UK government's homepage. San Francisco-based cloud company Fastly acknowledged the problem just before 3 a.m. this morning. It said in repeated updates on its website that it was continuing to investigate the issue. A number of sites that were hit early on appear to be back online this morning.
And breaking overnight, CHP is investigating after a crash left first responders with a big cleanup in South Bakersfield. Let's take a look at that scene of the crash. According to Pulse Point, it happened just after 10:30 on East Panama Lane and South Fairfax Road. We're still waiting for details on exactly how the crash happened. Witnesses say 2 cars were involved and one driver was being questioned for driving under the influence. No word yet on whether anyone was injured.
Now to allegations at a local high school where LGBTQ students were reportedly harassed just a few days into Pride Month. It started with a video on TikTok. A woman said her transgender son told her about the incident after class at Centennial High School in Northwest Bakersfield. He said several students came to campus wearing Trump flags like capes. She said members of the group harassed LGBTQ students.
Wear your Trump flags and all of that. But they did it because it's Pride Month and they harassed the kids. Centennial High School in Bakersfield, you suck.
A separate post by the activist group 661 Voices Heard claims at the same school a pride flag was stuffed in a urinal. Multiple students took screenshots of that incident, which was apparently posted on the app Snapchat. There's now a petition on change.org demanding action from Centennial and the Kern High School District with more than 2,500 signatures. We did get a statement from KHSD, but it did not specifically confirm any of these details. It says the Kern High School District and Centennial High School recognize that students have varying viewpoints and opinions. One of the goals of the educational process is to teach students how to communicate respectfully with each other. School administration investigated reports of misconduct associated with the on-campus student exchanges in order to determine appropriate corrective action. Corrective action has been taken with the appropriate students. However, the district does not say it is not, or says it does not allow or is not allowed to reveal what kind of action was taken. Meantime, the Delano City Council voted last night to fly the pride flag above Delano City Hall in honor of Pride Month. The vote was 3-2, with council members Joe Alindahow and Liz Morris voting against the move. The pride flag will fly above City Hall throughout the end of this month.
The troubled Fairfax School Board met once again last night to interview candidates for superintendent. But this time the meeting was much quieter than past weeks. Now you can see a few people showed up with signs calling on board president Palmer Mullen to resign, but that was about it before the board went into closed session. Now, last week, you may remember, we told you roughly 24 people gathered at the board meeting to call for Mullen's resignation. This all comes after a recent scathing grand jury report calling the board, quote, divided and dysfunctional. The board hired an investigative firm to look into harassment and bullying allegations against Mullen. The firm presented its findings to the board and called on trustees to formally censure or rebuke Mullen. But Mullen, along with trustees Jose Luis Tapia and Alma Rios, threw out a proposed censure resolution, which enraged many in the community. Some members of the community are organizing a recall campaign against Mullen, Tapia, and Rios. The board also will meet today to interview additional superintendent candidates. A regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Thursday. Well, students from nearly 24 Kern County high schools will turn their tassels this week toward the future. It was graduation night for the Stockdale Mustangs yesterday. Students wore their caps and gowns and masks and sat next to their parents on Mustang Field for the ceremony. But they were just happy to be here, especially after a challenging year brought on by COVID-19.
It feels really great. We all worked so hard this whole year, and it's finally coming to an end, so it's a bittersweet ending, of course, but I'm very thankful.
Miramonte High School also held its graduation last night. It was a sea of red at the football stadium, where graduates were also joined by their parents, and it was a breezy night with much cooler temperatures than what we saw last week. And for a complete list of high school graduations this week, head to our website, kget.com, and congratulations to the class of 2021.
You can see all the tassels and gowns moving in the wind. Well, Bakersfield College will be offering in-person classes this summer and fall after switching to distance learning last year due to the pandemic. The college said students will be able to choose from 3 different methods of instruction: face-to-face, online, or hybrid courses. Enrollment is now open for courses in both the summer and fall semesters. Summer classes start early on June 14th, and the fall session begins August 21st. To register for classes or for more information, visit bakersfieldcollege.edu. Looking ahead to later this summer, country singers Justin Moore and Clay Walker are coming to Bakersfield. The singers will take the stage August 12th at the Mechanics Bank Arena. This is the first concert in the building in more than 17 months. Tickets for the show go on sale this Thursday at 10 a.m. and will be available exclusively at axs.com.
Clinica Sierra Vista is now offering rapid COVID-19 testing and COVID-19 vaccinations. Call 833-278-4584 to make your appointment. But don't delay. Clinica Sierra Vista, putting patients first.
Welcome back. Time now, 5:19, and President Biden is taking his first trip overseas since taking office tomorrow. He's got an aggressive agenda, including a face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Tracy Potts has a preview as Vice President Harris wraps up her trip south of the border today.
Hi, Nicole. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's going to be a busy week. One trip is ending, the other is beginning. President Biden facing meetings with world leaders trying to reestablish relationships and, in at least one case, establish and set the tone for what that relationship should look like. President Biden embarks on 8 days of diplomacy, joining allies at the G7 summit to discuss ransomware attacks, the COVID pandemic, and global cooperation.
Working with our allies and partners, renewing our role in international institutions, and reclaiming our credibility and moral authority. much of which has been lost.
He scheduled one-on-one meetings with the Queen of England and Turkey's president and a NATO briefing before next week's high-stakes meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
One of the things that President Biden will make clear to President Putin when he sees them is that states cannot be in the business of harboring those who are engaged in these kinds of attacks.
His trip comes as Vice President Kamala Harris wraps her Central American tour in Mexico today with a stern message to migrants approaching the U.S.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. If you come to our border, you will be turned back.
She's seeking cooperation from Mexico and Guatemala to curb corruption and improve the quality of life south of the border. The Biden administration believes that is the key to dealing with the situation at the border. Border apprehensions in April reached a 20-year high. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
And there is a new twist in the cyber attack that crippled the nation's largest pipeline. The Justice Department says the hackers ended up with virtually nothing after the U.S. turned the tables on them. Colonial paid $4.4 million in cryptocurrency to dark side hackers, but the FBI, already investigating the Russian group, got nearly all of the money back. Agents were able to find the account where the ransom was sent and figure out the password. A judge has since seized the account.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
And welcome back in your Business Watch, and some good news on the economic front. The nation's economy is picking up speed. In fact, the unemployment rate is now the lowest since the pandemic began. But as 17's Eitan Wallace reports this morning, while businesses across town are looking to hire, finding people to fill positions has posed a new challenge, a challenge especially impacting women.
After months of vaccinations, the economy has gotten its shot in the arm. The latest May jobs report shows more than 500,000 new jobs were added nationwide. The national unemployment rate, 5.8%. And in Bakersfield, businesses are hiring. If you've been to this Carl's Jr. on Rosedale Highway over the last month, you've likely seen this now hiring sign on the front window. Across the street at the Black Angus Steakhouse, an even larger sign of the same message. And in downtown, this Taco Bell on 24th Street has a hiring sign on the front door.
And that's not the only Taco Bell location hiring locally. In fact, a quick search on the fast food chain's website, and you'll see not one, not two, but 105 openings at Taco Bell locations across the greater Bakersfield area.
Now the question turns to, will people actually apply for work? Some economists have pointed out that government unemployment benefits and stimulus checks are incentivizing people to stay home instead of looking for work. But Dress for Success Bakersfield founder and executive director Elaine McNerney says it's not so simple.
Sometimes there are other factors at play.
Specifically, she says many women, and especially mothers, have not been able to apply for work. The reason?
Far fewer women are looking for work because unfortunately, they don't have the opportunity to get out and compete for the jobs. Now, there are jobs available, but women have to have childcare, and they have to have someone to monitor or make sure that their children are doing their distance learning.
But as children return to school in the fall and the economy opens even further, Dress for Success stands ready to help women. Since its founding, this nonprofit has supported women by providing professional attire, resume help, and mentorship.
If you find a job and you can get a job, want some help with your resume or your interview, and your clothing, of course, we're here to help.
If you would like to receive services here at Dress for Success on 17th Street, be sure to call 661-748-1809 or email bakersfield@dressforsuccess.org. Now, if you're uncomfortable with in-person, they also have a virtual career center. And for the rest of the public looking to shop here for clothes, well, you can do so every Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Reporting in downtown Bakersfield, Eitan Wallace, 17 News.
This morning, we continue our conversation on Kern County's latest drug epidemic, fentanyl. It is circulating in our community, and it's killing people in numbers that we have not seen before.
17's Robert Price, who devoted 4 months to this story, learned pretty quickly that fentanyl is not an ordinary drug. It's not the sort of manageable high many may think it is. Fentanyl is unpredictable, and people oftentimes don't even know that that's what they're taking. Here's Robert Price as he reports on fentanyl, the counterfeit killer.
You've heard of Russian roulette. Slide one bullet into an empty six-shooter, spin the chamber, point it at your head, and pull the trigger. 1 in 6. Not good odds when the cost of losing is so irreversibly final. But those are better odds than you'll get buying a counterfeit painkiller on the streets of Bakersfield if it contains fentanyl. And chances are good it does. Sometimes it seemed like Tyler Cabral could do anything. Anything. Juggling a golf ball and then whacking it in midair, Tiger Woods style. Swishing a basketball from the roof to the driveway below, backward, blind, and one-handed, Harlem Globetrotters style. But Tyler Cabral couldn't manage one challenge. He couldn't beat fentanyl. He told his parents he could. He told his girlfriend he could. He may even have told himself he could. But in the end, on September 9th, 2020, fentanyl won. Before that, though, no challenge seemed too great. Golf, soccer, snowboarding, wakeboarding, motocross, especially motocross. He had that fearlessness that separates the guys in the back of the pack from the ones battling for the lead. And he had 150 motocross trophies to prove it.
Just such a natural at anything he did. The kid was just fearless.
That fearlessness got him in trouble, though. He was hurt so often the injuries sometimes overlapped. He broke his jaw riding a scooter when he was 16. And 2 weeks later, having had most but not all of the wiring removed from his mouth, he entered a motocross race. He crashed again, breaking his femur.
All the little brackets cut his mouth when he fell, and he was bleeding. And I was telling the paramedics, because they pretty much know all the families, and and I was like, oh my God, be careful with his jaw. I go, his jaw's broken. And he looked at me and he goes, how do you know? I said, because he just broke it like less than 2 weeks ago.
Later, Tyler broke his wrist, and later still, he dropped his motorcycle when he slipped on fresh tar while doing another wheelie. More pain, more oxy, deeper dependency. By that time, age 20, he was addicted to painkillers prescribed by various doctors. Once, Cheryl dropped Tyler at a doctor's office, then, without leaving the parking lot, picked up her cell phone.
And I called him and said, look, he's addicted to oxy. You cannot give him anything in that family.
Eventually, his doctors cut him off. So, like many others have done, he turned to the street, where counterfeit oxycodone is inexpensive and abundant, because it's usually not oxycodone at all. It's fentanyl, a cheap synthetic opioid up to 100 times more potent than morphine. Not only is street fentanyl potent and addictive, it's also more dangerous than pharmaceutical opioids because it's not prepared with the same stringent standards used in the industry. Tyler Cabral had made that transition from legitimately purchased opioids, highly dangerous but at least regulated, to the work of criminal amateurs. Tyler couldn't get himself off that either, and then it got scary. Tyler knew he needed help, but he was in the grip of something powerful, something relentless. In early 2020, he overdosed 3 times within just a few days. Each time, his girlfriend Leah recognized his shallow breathing and ran down the hall to wake up Cheryl and Tyler's father, Fred. Each time, they brought him back. Each time, until September 9th, 2020. That night, Leah wasn't there. The next morning, she opened his bedroom door with a sense of dread.
I walked over so slow, and I just put my hand on his stomach. And I knew, I could just tell. And I just went, Tyler, and I grabbed his face, and as soon as I grabbed his face, I knew it was too late.
Even just helping one person a day, guys, you don't understand how that could change the world. If everybody helped one person a day, it adds up.
Tyler Cabral must have felt invincible. At times, he seemed invincible to everyone else, too. That's the awful irony of his story. Why are we telling these stories? Because fentanyl, in the same chemical family as opium and heroin, is tearing Kern County families apart. They don't recognize the warning signs, physical and emotional, and they don't grasp the unforgiving finality of a fentanyl overdose. For 17 News, I'm Robert Price.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.